Welcome to Beyond Bitcoin, a podcast about all things digital assets, the global communities they are creating, the generations that are using and investing in them, and the challenges faced by the nations that are seeking to regulate them. The content of this program is not to be taken as investment advice. My name is Derek Graham. I'm the CEO of Portal Asset Management, and my co-host is Nitin Gower, CTO of Portal.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our listeners, depending on where you are. Welcome to yet another episode of Beyond Bitcoin, where we discuss important events, trends, and opine and discuss on the shifts shaping our industry. Derek, my friend and co-host, is traveling this week. And yes, it's his turn to travel now. And I will host today's show with a guest. But before I introduce my esteemed guest, a quick overview of events. This is an important week. Consensus 2022 is being held in Austin, my hometown, and I'm looking forward to several events and sessions, especially around Money Reimagined, Web3 and Metaverse, which is slated on day one and day two. Over 15,000 plus people are flocking, and it'll be a busy week eating into our weekend going forward. Just like World Economic Forum and Davos, I will provide a narrative and report the post, the event, so stay tuned for that. Now on today's topic, we're going to spend some time, and this is really interesting era that we're entering. And I've always said that we have stopped from digital transformation to transforming digital itself. The topic we're discussing is digital legacy, which is very much a Web3.0 agenda. The question of not just preserving and passing generational wealth via constructs such as will and estate planning, but how do we deal with our digital legacy in this increasingly digital world? Well, my good friend, Sree Chintala, CEO and founder of Clocr, has envisioned this problem a few years back and committed past few years to addressing it. So let me introduce Sree, who is the CEO and founder of Clocr. Sree, welcome.
Hey, Nitin, thank you. Appreciate inviting me to the call, and can start off with that. I'm actually a CTO for the company.
So who's the CEO then?
CEO, that's a good segue. CEO and the co-founder is Sree Chintala. She's my daughter, and she just graduated from UT, University of Texas, Austin. We have been on this journey for the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
And yeah, she's the face of the company for us.
Wow, that's like two amazing stories. First of all, great T-shirt, which is great pick. And second thing is, how cool is that? I mean, having seen your daughter grow and give her an opportunity to be especially an emerging leader and a female founder, which I think is two amazing sort of feats that you've achieved. So, again, welcome and thanks for making time for the show. And tell us a bit more about this journey. And I'm sure there's some connection between you seeing your legacy and including your daughter in that journey. Tell us a bit more about that and the original thinking, and how do you go about thinking about this interesting and yet sort of a very fuzzy area of digital legacy?
Yeah, legacy is an interesting topic. We know we all are going to die at some point, but nobody wants to think about it and plan for it. Sure. And when the moments like death is going to give a different perspective in your point in time, right? So this journey started when my dad passed away several years back, where I had to travel to India and take care of the family business and so on. And Apuro was in high school and came back with the stories and stuff, with all the mess that we had to deal with. And I am on the road all the time. I used to be on the road all the time, where I was a technical sales, pre-sales engineer, working for a large company. And then the $1 million question come in: what's going to happen if I don't return home, and how is the family going to deal with all the stuff that I had to deal with? So that was a thought kind of discussed with the family, and we just let it simmer. Right? This is something that we needed to deal with. As she was joining into college, the problem became more imminent that and with our digital assets pretty much are growing. We do everything online, the banking and any investments that we have, trading and all that stuff. So when I looked around to see what is the easiest way to tackle this problem, so in case if something happens to me, My family can get hold of all these accounts and all the assets that we acquired and all the information in general. There's so much information that we can't even fathom how much that is there exists. Once you start writing down, you will realize that there's a lot that the family needs to know. All right, if you and there was no platform to do it, and there was no time, and there was really not an easy way to do it other than Google Drive or a Dropbox like feature, which is not really a secure way. They're not built for legacy. They are built for information sharing, but they're not built for legacy. So those were the beginning days. And we toyed the idea over a period of a year and a half, and here we are with a legacy and emergency planning platform with Clocr.
Wow. So before we go into Clocr itself, right? Let me replay this back, right? So we all have social media accounts. We have the digital footprints that we leave all over the net as we interact, especially from the transition, and we haven't even gone to Web 3.0 yet, but Web 1.0 was just pure single one-way consumption of information. And it's been over a decade, actually a little bit over a decade since we have been in this Web 2.0 era where we get to actually interact with the internet. We post stuff, we share stuff. And historically, including our bank accounts, as you mentioned, our investment accounts and credit card accounts. And one way we have done this with our families, which is not the right way to do, but think about this, is share passwords. We've said, hey, here's my account, here's my password, a hodgepodge of these things. And it was fine for the first few years because we all had one or two accounts. And over time, we all have thousands of accounts on different platforms. That includes your Amazon, and that includes for e-commerce and for sharing and for Pinterest and LinkedIn, Twitter, and social media. So it's an exponentially growing problem. And we all have said this to ourselves that, hey, and you're right, no one thinks about that death. And we're saying, here's my password, and there's general formula for password that the whole family kind of knows that this is your general password. Again, not the most secure way to do things, not the most efficient way of doing things. And on demise, I would imagine it would be a huge challenge to go and prove to everyone, one, that there's been a death in the family, and two is what is the avenue for you to curate this digital footprints, and when you shared something, what is the mindset behind sharing? So there's all of these things become intertwined and increasingly complex. And we haven't even gone to Web 3.0 yet. We'll reserve that. Share a bit of what your thinking was in that direction before we actually get into what Clocr does today, and then we look into its future plans.
Yeah, that's a very important point, and there are several points that you brought up, Nathan. Actually, we before even getting into the online accounts and assets, right? When we started with a simple solution in mind. What is the best and secure way of transferring information from family, from individual to the family members? That was our first idea, first thought. As we researched more about a year into the solutioning, we stumbled upon the legal guidelines and governance regarding digital assets, which is called RUFADA, RUFADA. And to our surprise, that most lawyers or fintech experts are not aware of this one. And this is a guidelines provided by Uniforms Law Commission back in 2015 and 2016, like way back. And most states adopted it. So I'll kind of deconstruct this in a really simple format, right? So basically, the problem, the gravity of this problem is much more than most people think of it, right? The first, what is the need? Need is for the family to have access to your critical personal information, your online accounts, the passwords, and any other information. Now, us typically sharing willingly, most people think that that is okay because I am the account owner. I am sharing this with my family, so it should be legitimate and allowable. That is the biggest myth, people. Again, we can't blame people for not knowing the facts, but that is legally incorrect. It is basically violating the privacy laws. If you go read Apple or Google or Facebook or any online account, that 32-page long privacy statement, most people don't, terms of use, don't read. In many cases, clearly state that you cannot share passwords with anyone. This is for your and your use only. So it kind of ends that part. So that means us sharing the accounts and passwords with family members is violating the privacy laws. So the RUFADA gives the indication, direction to the individuals that, hey, you as a user can pass on, just like any other property. Like if you have real estate, or if you have any other assets, you need a bill or a legal instrument to declare that who would be the rightful owners of it. And our online accounts, digital assets, come into that category as well. So that is the first part, is violation of privacy laws is a problem. The second, the access to the accounts, right? After the demise, these accounts are still there. I mean, LinkedIn and Facebooks and all accounts, and the companies, service providers like LinkedIn and Google and so on, have no authority to close them without a legal instrument. So the accounts are going to stay forever there, and then they can be prone to identity theft and so on. There are a lot of tax records get broken for the dead people, and every year the numbers are staggering. So there are the problem is much more grave than that most can imagine. So that is where the solutioning comes into picture, where we realize that this is an area, untapped area. This is back in 2019, 2020 timeframe, right before COVID, that we stumbled upon this and said, hey, storing and sharing information is our goal, but there is actually a complete legal governance and, or at least a guidelines in here. So we built our solutioning along those lines, where we wanted to give a vehicle and an instrument for people like you and I, for anyone who has online presence, and a simple way to declare that who would be the rightful nominees, and then pass on these assets to the family.
Wow, actually, I had not, to be honest with you, Sree, I'd never heard of Rufata. And like most people have not, even though me and you are in this space, we are dealing with technologies, we are involved with digital rights management and everything else. I had never heard of Rufata until I begin to have this conversation with you and exploring this space. Tell us more about Clocr, and how are you making the Rufata compliant, which I think is a very, very unique proposition, right? In all the conversation we've had, it's a unique set of issues that you're trying to solve. And you've actually, and I still have the QR code, I'll probably get that in a few minutes, is in terms of what you have done for emergency management and tying that to, so you're not just looking and saying, hey, posthumous, we'll manage this, but we also want to be in that journey of managing that event, that emergency. Tell us more about that, because I think that was just fascinating that you didn't just stop at the Rufata compliant system. You went ahead and said, let's help you manage the emergency. So you're there from the very beginning. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. So you and I, technologists by nature, we are curious, and our goal is to solve problems and provide simple solutions to the common man. So I have about close to 28 years in the technology space, and all through my career, just curious about solving problems and doing a better way. So that's kind of reflects in Clocr journey. We started off somewhere that, hey, I want to have an easy way to make sure that my family gets the information into, okay, we're stumbled into the legal space or legacy space, where what is the best way, or what is the right way, in other words, to pass on the critical information to the family members. And then someone came along and said, that's good and well that, hey, you have this your digital estate planning tool that you can do it. How does my family know that, whether in case if I am in an emergency and death? And then that thought came along that we can also help. See, if you look at Clocr, it is basically has several components to it, right? Once you have a digital vault, that is the first one that we built, where you store all your critical documents, and storing and sharing with advanced features and so on. And if you really think about it, that becomes a very central core of your online, basically a document repository. We didn't mention that we applied for about 4 patents pending on the entire ecosystem that we built, and digital vault is one of them, with a security where we shred and distribute the documents, the pieces across multiple storage locations, and so on. So then that came along is, if you're if you have all your documents, important documents stored in a single place, how does the family know when you're in an accident, if you're hit by a car? How can we open that up? So we built another feature called emergency vault, ICE vault, in case of emergency vault, which is a private vault. You as an individual can tag all the important documents that can go in there, and identify the people who can open the vault in case of emergencies. And then that came along is, hey, if you're in an accident, if you're hit by a car, how can we open that up? So we built another feature called emergency vault, ICE vault, in case of emergency vault, which is a private vault. You as an individual can tag all the important documents that can go in there, and identify the people who can open the vault in case of emergencies. And that's how we also designed something called an emergency card, where you actually set the QR code. So you set up your QR code in here, set up all your emergency contacts, and that information is protected. We don't disclose who the contacts are. So for example, let's say I have my QR code on my keychain, and then I get and I'm on the road somewhere, get hit by a car or a medical emergency, and whatever the case may be, someone scanning the card will gets them a page like a call emergency notifications page. All it has is a call home button. They press the button. It sends an SMS, a GPS location of the person scanning the card. That is basically usually where the incident happens. Immediately, no matter where the contacts are in the world. I can have my sisters in Detroit and New Jersey, my mom in India, my cousins in the UK. Message gets through, and then they can now open the emergency vault and get any important documents they would need. So today we offer the emergency planning and emergency vault as an additional service, add-on service, managing the digital estate, managing your documents. So that's the kind of evolution where we came from a single idea into multiple services today.
Wow, I mean, that's so innovative. I mean, you have combined the both human element and the digital element of this whole process in doing this. And I like the vault and ice vault terminology, which is in case of emergency, which sounds kind of cool. Not that because it has ice in front of it. And so all this is interesting. And, so to tell me, of course, this is about the Web 3.0 conversation now. Our entire show is about digital assets and crypto industry. Tell us, in short, the digital legacy to crypto legacy, in the sense that it's yes, you have the documents. I'm trying to amalgamate my entire spread of my digital footprints that I have all over the internet, and that grows exponentially every day I live and every day I interact with the web. So when we look into this and what you have built successfully, and it's growing, I think it's growing exponentially from our last conversation with you, which is a real need. But you can't stop at just collecting digital footprints. There has to be a thought process. I will be really surprised if there's not one. There is a thought process behind the crypto legacy, which is essentially passing on the wealth agenda. And so what are the challenges? And I oftentimes wonder and I ponder if we are creating similar institutions that we are today, because now you have financial institutions, your bank, you have all the middlemen that we aspire to move away. But I'll stop at that and just get your thoughts of that transition from the digital footprints and digital sort of breadcrumbs to real wealth, which is now being encapsulated in token forms. Love to hear what you're thinking there, because you already have the vault, you already have a process in place. Is it just not a matter of extending it?
Yeah, actually, that's a good segue into the future direction where the company can head into. So if you really look at it, either crypto or a non-crypto, crypto is another form of online thing. If you really want to simplify it, you got a key, you got a thing. So if you really look at the bits and bytes part of it, it's no different than you and I having the online airline miles or rewards points and so on. But the crypto has a lot more depth and meaning in terms of money, or the value attached to it is more, and the whole premise of having the crypto keys, someone having hands on the crypto key can loot the account and really decentralize, provides a very different dimension to it. But from a foundational point of view, today, our solution already offers a first step in terms of creating a digital will for your digital assets in general, in a general guidance point of view. So all the users, the first step, what they can do today is just go and create your social media will that is already available on Clocr, and we're extending that to a crypto will, which basically gives you a little more guidance on what you can write. It doesn't solve the protection and actual passing on the keys and all that, but at least you would have the first step done. So the extension of handling the crypto assets and NFT assets and so on, where you have to have the security in place and the partnerships in place to extend the solution into that. And actually, by the way, this is going to be a global problem, right? We're not talking about US. We're talking about pretty much anyone in the world who have digital assets, and crypto is defined as one of the forms of digital assets. So our solution as is today is readily usable and applicable to an extent. And then we see a path forward for how can we take this into the Web3 space.
Got it. So that's like a roadmap agenda for you all, which I think makes a lot of sense. But help me also understand this, Sree. I'm from India. You're from India. Generally, we always joke about it, of course, that estate planning and will is a first world problem. That everybody has one. At least most individuals have one. It's been ingrained into us as part of financial planning culture. The West has. But looking at chain analysis data, which we have again covered extensively on this podcast, is the growth in crypto wallets and crypto usage is heightened in emerging economies. Vietnam and India and Afghanistan, these are areas that are widely seeing this not only to preserve their savings, but also view this as a secondary source of income. And as we both know, that it's not on top of mind of most people in India and Vietnam to create a will and to create a estate planning structure to preserve this and pass on to the whole structure, leave alone the first problem that you used to set out to solve, which is the digital breadcrumb issue. How do you view that? How do you view that suddenly now that just like internet, what information has done for internet it gave a singular platform to everybody in the world to be able to interact exactly the way I'm interacting, you interact in India and Vietnam. The language may be different, but the mechanism is the same. Don't you see this problem being a global problem? And if that is the case, then how do you encourage the Indians and the Vietnamese and folks to embark on this journey? Because suddenly now dealing with 8 billion people, and let's say even if half of them, that's still a big number, I think.
Yeah. So I think we alluded to that. The being digital is a global, right? The by definition, it's a cross-boundary, cross-country economy. People buy stuff from anywhere in the world to anywhere, and so on. So the same is with crypto, right? If people buy cryptocurrency and they need to protect their wealth no matter where they are in the world. I think the biggest question is, are the laws, the legal aspect, is it catching up with what needs to be done? If not, what can we do today within the realms of the available legal governance or protection or guidance? And how do we shape it? So the technology advanced much more aggressively than the legal system could do. I mean, if you look at the legal system, more or less there are checks and balances in place for physical property, right? For the real estate or the stock money and so on. Anywhere in the world, there are guidelines, slight differences, taxations, and all those things play into picture because it evolved over a period of few hundred years or so. Crypto grew in the last 3 to 5 years or maybe 10 years and became the biggest asset class by itself. And the legal governance and protection and how to deal with it is emerging. I just heard that in India, RBI, Reserve Bank of India, announced acknowledge crypto as an asset, and they are a capital gains of 30%, if I'm not wrong.
That's right, 30%
tax on that now, right? So there is a more onus for the owners to do that. I believe it's the same case in Canada. In the US, I think crypto is treated as a property. Again, don't go by I just read it on the news, not a financial advisor or tax advisor, but all these things will come into play on when the government is taking money. You have to plan for inheritance as well, how to deal with it. So where we are sitting in a very unique position, being thinking about digital inheritance planning for with Clocr for the last 2.5-3 years, if you will. we have built a lot of foundational things that are already into the system. So taking the solution into any geography, the needs are the same. We just have to adapt to the right legal governance and guidance. And in a way, maybe if I'm not wishful thinking, we may be able to actually give the guidance to the legal community on how this asset class should be treated. Because we have multiple players in this scenario, right? You have the users who are the owners of the assets, and then the providers, which can be, now we have 200-300 exchange accounts and maybe 100 custody providers all around the world, and it's going to grow. And then and then from a owner point of view, they have a set of people, maybe a handful of people, they want to distribute the wealth, right? And who's going to validate and govern? And so it's going to be a very complex problem compared to physical assets, where you would just sell off or change the title, and the ownership changes. So our vision is that if we can put together, extend the platform and put together a simple way for user adoption to do this. From a user's point of view, it has to be simple and executable, and then you can handle the technology in the back and the complexities. Now, the core question came in: why would people not do? Even in the US, the mature economy, society, the people having wills are less than 50% with the COVID. I think the number went up a little bit. 62% is what it is doing, and the more millennials are doing it. Only because it is complex. When I want to think about my own will or a trust or a living trust, it's a 6 months ordeal to deal with the lawyers and figuring out and all that stuff, and we get busy and that gets pushed down to the side. If we offer a simple solution and it's incrementally doable, then most people are willing to do it, and that's how we should approach the problem. One, this is the digital. The second, if you don't have to deal with cycles, deal with the legislation or the legal process with the lawyers and hours of documentation, what needs to be done, and that could be easy. So if we approach the problem where you can make it simple, one step at a time, and incrementally build your solution, that should give us more reasons for users to adopt.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I actually, believe it or not, I'm still learning a lot as you describe this, and I have like more questions now. But help me understand this piece, right? I think so. As you describe what Clocr is doing and the roadmap of getting into digital assets, is it conceivable that Clocr, future could be all things digital legacy, in the sense that whether it's my LinkedIn account or the 15,000 different accounts that I may have, and the breadcrumbs that we talked about, you have a vault, and while you're using the same technology, both in terms of maintaining audit records, you're using DLT, for example, for audit records, you may be using, cryptography to protect and encrypt these files that you put in a vault. So the technical construct, which is what is used even for the digital assets, which is things like protecting the key material and having a process to be able to custody the key material, I think the process is the same, except that the modality of what you're protecting, Clocr, and the roadmap you have, is it conceivable that Clocr could be a one-stop shop, that I need to protect my digital legacy, I need to figure out as to who do I give my LinkedIn accounts to, and who do I give my other legacy to, and who I give the NFTs to, and is it conceivable that I can go to this one place, divvy up all kinds of rules, and let Clocr or a like entity to manage all that for me and simplify this whole element, which again, it's easier said than done, because I'm a human being. I've lived for X amount of years and I have that much more digital legacy. How do you see this, reconciling this? I think it could be a Herculean effort to address this for how, the modern times that we live in.
I think we're already there. So Clocr is a full-fledged digital legacy planning platform today, which, like I mentioned, we have had about 3 years of maturity into it and building it. So from a user point of view, designating the nominees, documenting your online accounts, or cataloging your online accounts, consolidating your documents, it is already there. and being protected and so on. So you can do that for any online accounts, your LinkedIn's, Facebook's, Google's, even your Coinbase exchange accounts, Robinhood accounts. The construct is already there. And it's simple, like it literally takes 15-20 minutes for you to put all this thing together through the wizards that we offer. The first step we can do, first step is a blanket social media will that you can create, is saying that you don't declare your online accounts. You say all my accounts go to my primary user and then secondary backup users. So that is your first step. So you have something in your hand. It takes 15 seconds to do it. We don't even charge for that. The second one is you can much more detailed digital legacy planning and all that. So that is already there. Now the question comes in, is the market ready for this? Now what happens when somebody really dies? Is somebody the heirs going after the companies with Google and Facebook and so on? That ecosystem hasn't been built yet. Sure. Meaning, right? Let's say if I have 100 online accounts, which is actually on the low end side, out of that 20, 30 are maybe most critical. Rest of them, I can close them down. So who's going to act on my behalf to take care of those actions? One, my heirs need to get hold of those accounts. That means the service providers need to grant them access. The whole process of that legacy concierge is not built yet. I mean, we know what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. We actually have plans to attack that. And the market needs to resonate with that. The service providers need to come to the ball and say, hey, this is a big problem. Now, how are we going to handle it? I'll give you one simple example. I'm not going to pick on one company, but a online payments company starts with the P. I looked up their very successful company. I love them. I use them daily, right? Or at least frequently. I look at their legacy sign, and what they said is them being a digital company, send this, how do you transfer my account to my heirs? Simple question. They said, send a letter with a death certificate to this mailbox number. We'll respond to you in time. It's really baffles me.
No guarantees, especially with money now.
Right, it's
That's
money.
crazy.
My money is locked up. My heirs need my money. What if I have $1 million in it? You know, and they need the money, and I have no site, no phone number, no email, just a mailbox. God forbid, and so that can be changed. So we are building a highway between the service providers and Clocr, and where and I don't want to disclose a lot of details in here, but imagine a scenario where all this is taken care of, digitally handled within a matter of minutes. Because me as the user, authenticated user, I already authorized someone. Why should it take months and weeks or years to get that resolved, where the company is going to partner with us and say, we acknowledge this solution, we acknowledge the assignment, and then digital inheritance should be solved. I know getting into Web3 and crypto is a similar concept. We have smart contracts and all that is in place, but on the traditional online accounts, it still has to go through that way.
It's so even exponential. There's no PO box either. There's some of them are just decentralized autonomous organizations, and you need a digital handshake and digital way to do it, which is good and bad, only because you have no throat to choke and you need to truly get digital way. So that's going to be interesting too, I think, Sree.
Yes.
Hey, so this is fascinating, and we could talk for hours, but we are sort of wrapping up on time. Just tell the audience, how do we get in touch with the project? How do we get in touch with you? What is the mechanism as one way to wrap our conversation here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nathan. It's been, I know we can talk for hours and come up with 10 different ideas of 10 different companies in here. It's so huge and so vast. I'm always excited to share those ideas. So our company is simple to remember, clocr.com. It's actually a short for Cloud Locker. That was our original vision. So clocr.com, and we are on it's a simple to reach out, Sree, SREE at clocr.com. My email. Would love to hear your feedback, and do sign up. That is, especially being a startup, especially a bootstrapped startup, we definitely need the support from the industry for us to continue. And we were being a product focused, so we never on the marketing focused or take millions of dollars and go flood the market to get the subscribers. We always focused on the solution, a valuable solution for you and I, the consumers, and that's where we accomplished, I believe, quite a bit in the past 3 years with very little bootstrap money. So love to hear you, we'd love to see you on the platform. And also, if you are interested in learning about our journey in the future, we really barely touched upon what's in the store for us. We're creating a private group on the Digital Legacy Consortium, so I'd love to see you in that. So again, reach out, please do reach out, sree@clocr.com. And again, just pass the word around, and we're just getting started. I think I would say we're a T-3 in terms of years getting to a real solution.
I'm certainly going to sign up. I think it's essential, even not just being curious and as a technologist, but also I think it's something which we all need to address at some level, some point in time. And what better way to at least start digging into this, from a solution perspective. Well, very well. Sree, really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time and spending 30+ minutes with us, educating us and our audiences, and looking forward to, again, I think we should follow up. Once you have the roadmap agenda that we discussed here, once you've achieved those, I invite you to come back and discuss what's in the store for the new exciting world that is sort of still evolving. I'd love to get your thoughts and the solution that you're building around it at some point. So have a good day.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed our weekly conversation. If you have any questions, comments, or suggested topics, please feel free to connect with either Nitin or myself on nitin@portal.am or derek@portal.am. Feel free to subscribe and share with like-minded friends. Stay well, inquisitive, and engaged. See you next week. Bye for now.